You were never here to fix the world. That burden you've carried of being responsible for the healing of broken systems, of mending the chaos, of somehow carrying the grief of generations before you, it was never truly yours. The weight you feel in your chest, the exhaustion that seems far too deep for someone your age, the sharp disconnection from everything around you that feels artificial and outdated. These aren't weaknesses. They are symptoms of the truth you've always known but have never had the permission to speak aloud. You did not come to repair this world. You came to end the cycle that created it. Indigo children were never meant to be heroes in shining armor. You were never meant to be the next generation of teachers, healers, politicians, or saviors of the old system. You were sent here as disruptors, living frequency codes whose very existence dismantles illusions without a single word. You are not here to fix what is crumbling. You are here to ensure it cannot rebuild itself in the same form again. This is why you've never fit in. This is why the rules of this world have always made you sick. This is why, even from a young age, you could see straight through the masks adults wore. And why their games, their praise, their punishments all felt so hollow to you. From the moment you arrived, you were different not because of how you looked but because of how you perceived. You noticed the lie behind the smile. You questioned authority not out of rebellion but because it never made sense. You resisted tradition not to provoke but because you remembered something truer. And when you were punished, labeled as difficult, unmotivated, too sensitive, or too intense, you didn't know how to explain what was really happening. That the structure they tried to force on you was already outdated at the soul level. Indigo souls carry within them the imprint of completion. You are the bridge between paradigms. You are the edge that slices the old era apart, not with violence but with clarity. You don't burn things down. You simply refuse to participate in the delusion. And that refusal is what terrifies the system most. The reason schools drained you was not because you were lazy or unfocused. It's because your neural pathways were wired for multidimensional input, and the linear conditioning of academic indoctrination dulled your senses into despair. The reason you couldn't handle shallow conversations is not because you were antisocial. It's because your emotional field is so finely tuned that falseness feels like static against your skin. The reason you struggled with authority is not because you lack discipline. It's because you never forgot what real truth feels like, and the commands of unconscious leaders always rang false. You don't belong to this system because you were born to break its spell. But for many indigo children, that truth is buried beneath layers of shame, fatigue, and silent rage. You were told your gifts were problems. Your intuition was paranoia. Your emotional intensity was instability. Your refusal to comply was self-sabotage. And so, many of you folded inward, numbing yourselves, abandoning your inner knowing, or turning to substances, distractions, and spiritual bypassing, trying to survive in a world that kept demanding you shapeshift into someone who wouldn't scare them. But make no mistake, the discomfort you cause is not a flaw. It is your function. Your energy field destabilizes control systems. Your eyes interrupt the loop of self-denial in others. Your silence makes people feel their own emptiness. You didn't come to teach peace to a broken machine. You came to pull the plug. But the unplugging is not dramatic. It doesn't look like revolution. It looks like a quiet refusal. A constant, vibrating no inside you that won't let you sell your soul for approval. A soft, immovable defiance that keeps you walking away. From fake friendships, from careers that cage you, from ideologies that were designed to keep people asleep. And the moment you stop apologizing for that refusal, you begin to remember who you really are. You were never here to be liked. And that truth, though difficult to swallow, is part of your freedom. The energies you carry are not designed to please or pacify. They are disruptive, catalytic, and uncompromising. When you walk into a room, something shifts, often subtly, sometimes violently. People may get defensive around you without knowing why. They may interpret your neutrality as arrogance, your boundaries as coldness, your observations as attacks. But in truth, You are simply being honest in a world that has normalized performance. You don't mirror back people's delusions, and that makes them uncomfortable. You don't pretend not to notice hypocrisy, and that makes them nervous. You don't play the emotional games they were trained to play, and that makes them label you difficult, antisocial, or strange. But this discomfort you stir is not accidental. It is not optional. It is the signal that a deeper truth is present. Your energy field holds the vibration of collapse, not of destruction, but of disintegration. You accelerate the entropy of falsehood. Wherever you are placed, systems either shift or break. That is not your failure. That is your function. And yet, for much of your life, this function felt like a curse. You were blamed for the discomfort in your family, when in reality, your presence simply revealed the tension that was already there. You were scapegoated in relationships, because your unwillingness to betray yourself exposed the emotional avoidance in others. You were seen as the problem child, the too much, the too intense, when in fact, you were the only one refusing to settle for a lie. It's no wonder that so many indigos fell into burnout, depression, or despair. When your very being disrupts the environment, and the environment demands silence in return, your system begins to collapse inward. The anxiety, the panic, the emotional shutdown, the desire to disappear. It was never weakness. It was your soul trying to exit a role it was never meant to perform. You were not meant to fix this machine. You were meant to break the illusion that it ever served life. But here's the paradox you came to live. Even as you dismantle, you love. Even as you walk away, you care. You see the suffering, even when you don't participate in it. You feel the collective ache, even when you're no longer attached to the storyline. And this is the mark of the indigo. The ability to hold both clarity and compassion in the same breath. You are not bitter. You are simply done. Done with pretending that comfort is truth. Done with acting like dysfunction deserves your loyalty. Done with apologizing for a frequency that was never here to fit in, but to end the cycle. And when you finally stop fighting your design, when you stop trying to explain it to those who cannot hear, a strange peace begins to settle into your bones. You no longer need to be understood. You no longer waste energy convincing anyone of anything. You realize that your greatest power lies not in activism, not in persuasion, but in embodiment. In holding the new frequency so deeply, so consistently, so silently, that the old one simply cannot survive in your field anymore. This is the new role of the indigo, not to lead revolutions, but to withdraw consent from illusion so fully that it crumbles under its own weight. You are not here to join the noise. You are here to carry a stillness so ancient, so unmoved, that the noise begins to unravel itself. And that stillness is not passive. It is intelligent, surgical, precise. It allows you to sense when to speak and when to stay silent. It guides you to the rooms you're meant to leave, and the places where your resonance can grow. It teaches you the difference between martyrdom and mission. Because yes, you have a mission, but it is not what they told you. You are not here to save the world. You are here to witness its transformation without losing yourself. You are here to end the karmic loop of repeating what doesn't work. You are here to be the ending, not of life but of the lies that kept life suppressed. And endings, when done with grace, are the most sacred things we can offer. So know your existence is not a mistake. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. Your refusal to conform is not adolescent rebellion. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are precisely what this timeline requires. A soul that remembers too much to play along. And now, as the old world trembles, and its scaffolding begins to rot from within, your presence matters more than ever. Not as a leader, not as a savior, but as a witness. As a frequency holder. As someone who simply refuses to forget again. So if in the quiet hours of your life, when no one is watching and the noise has settled into shadows, you find yourself staring into the distance, feeling that strange nameless ache in your chest, that weight of knowing you cannot fully articulate, that tension between the love you hold and the futility you observe. Know that you are not confused, and you are not failing, but rather you are standing exactly where you are meant to stand, at the outer edge of one reality, holding open the gateway to another. You were not sent to pull the masses across that threshold, nor to drag broken systems into alignment by force, nor to convince the blind to see. You were simply sent to be the presence that does not flinch, the soul that does not bow, the frequency that does not distort itself to soothe the comfort of the unaware. And in this unwavering presence, you become the silent axis around which collapse becomes rebirth, not through destruction, but through disengagement. And even though it may feel like nothing is changing, even though your actions go unseen, your truth goes uncelebrated, and your quiet exits go unnoticed, the field remembers. The energetic scaffolding of this world trembles just a little more each time you say no to the lie, each time you do not play the role, each time you simply choose not to betray yourself for belonging. And in that refusal, the old world loses just a bit more of its grip. So let them misunderstand you, let them call you lost, bitter, or strange, because while they chase systems you were never meant to repair, you are walking with a fire inside your chest that speaks not in words, but in pulses. Pulses that echo across the dimensions as the signal that the old frequency is ending, and a new one is stabilizing itself through you. You are not here to finish what came before. You are here to make sure it never begins again. And when the dust settles, when the noise burns itself out, when the silence becomes thick enough to hear truth again, you will still be here, not as the hero of the story, but as the one who refused to let the old story repeat.